Howdy folks, Monty's Reviews here. This is quite a setup, but I wanted to show some miniatures to give some indication of what I look for with regards to highly detailed miniatures. This is just a test miniature. Look at my hands in contrast. So let's move this one aside. So this is not a high price commission. So this is just to give a kind of visual reference, associated with some of the miniatures that I'm going to show. This is still a pretty good paint job, but there are some little elements that obviously don't show it to be a high price commission miniature. It's still very nicely done. I mean, let's not be negative associated with this particular one. Very well done. But I just wanted to provide that as some level of calibration. Now, where do we go from here? Okay, so let's take that one off. This, however, is a commissioned miniature. And you can see there are little chips, there are little imperfections, but this is very, very highly detailed. And what you see under the light is some of the little extras that come here. Now, you do notice a slight scuff there, slight scuff on the top. You notice the elbows are pinkish. You notice it's signed, which gives an indication of the artist. But that is, why don't I show the three from this gentleman's work as a good example. So, let's take this one off. Another one down. Now these have been shown on Instagram, so they have some degree of provenance. But what you're looking for here is the little details, some of the highlighting, some of the emphasis basically on the writing. I don't have any of my Kirill Kenebs out because I can show those in a similar light, but this is just some indication of what you get with a commissioned miniature. You can see some aspects of the lighting will be done in a certain fashion. So let me get another one. And this is the last of the set of three. And I want to show in reference, perhaps I'll put the one which is not a high price commission miniature next to it as a kind of compare and contrast when it comes around. So you can see some of the distinctions there. The lines are very different. The lines with regards to the weapons are very different. You can see certain aspects that are just well detailed and where the time has gone, basically. And this is an artist whose work I've continued to commission. In fact, both of them I've continued to commission. They're both very beautifully done in their own particular styles. But they do show some of the distinctions between the higher price commissions. And look, the one coming around that isn't signed is still very top of the range associated with general tabletop. But you can see little elements in the face, these kind of things, which really make the distinction between these. So I'm going to, let me just take this one down. Take down the cohort. Now, I'm going to show some work by another artist. And again, this will give a good indication associated with what one looks for. Now, this is a different style, but there's a kind of certain degree of rustic element. I'll put in a compare and contrast. The last one, I think, was a good example to kind of compare and contrast with that. Let's turn them both the right way around. So as they come around. So you can see the distinction of the artist's style here, particularly associated with the orc. You can see the facial distinctions. This artist that I'm featuring has a very kind of 5-day growth element on the orcs, but a lot of blood, a lot of additional work, and I think you can see basically the distinctions there. So I'll take this one off and put on another one of these artists to give some contrast. So this is the same artist again, This one in particular, you can see the details in the face. Let me actually feature that one so you get a better indication of it. In the center. So this one you can see just the additional details. Now, in ratings, the first one I showed, the first actual orc that I showed, and this one, the first actual orc is considerably cheaper. The painter's rate is considerably less. But this one has a very rustic element to it. And the face, I think, is beautiful here, just to give you an indication of you know, the elements that you're looking for. So they're the first two artists. I've just shown a couple of their works, but I wanted to give some examples there. And now I'll show some of the other artists. Now this one, as the orcs that I showed, the higher level, this one is the same rate. But in contrast, stylistically, you see a number of differences here. Move it more in the center. And it's interesting, actually, because this is one of these miniatures where I'm not continuing to commission the artist. There were a series of issues with regards to this commission. There were two figures that were commissioned. And in the end, just the time and quality that has been put in here is not really what I was looking for. This one is just not quite of the quality that the other one had. And I think there are certain elements that are just rushed in this, which don't give it the same strength of character. And I think certainly what I'm looking for in the commission, and this is the same price as the higher priced orc that I showed, I want something that's just a little bit more. So this one artist, I commissioned two figures with him, and I've actually met him. I had a conversation with him about this, but I won't be commissioning in the near future any more art from him. Then we get to the interesting ones. So as you'll note, I asked for these to be in on original bases. So that's very much stylistically an important thing for me, that the miniatures are provided on original bases. However, the next artist didn't actually follow that request. So I have a series of his miniatures which are not on original bases. And let me just see if I can get these out for ease of viewing. So these are on higher bases, and I may actually have to lower the rotating disc in order to show that. So let me see if I can get in here and do this without causing too much trouble, this whole thing. Okay, so we've lowered that. Might need to refocus for this. Okay, so let us see. So, sorry, don't know really what I can do here for these ones. Maybe move it out a little, so we can lower it down a bit more. Okay, that's about the best I can do, unfortunately. So this is on a large block, and this I requested actually not to be like that, but the artist decided to follow their own path. And this again, I'm not going to be commissioning any more art from this artist. I think his best work is evident with a particular figure, so I'll just find that figure. This is the one. But yeah, these other ones, unfortunately, they're just not quite there. Now, they're actually comparably priced with the second more bloodied orcs. This one, however, I think is absolutely brilliant. I will show this one, because this I think I did get my value out of. And here what I'm looking for specifically is the kind of chrome effects that this figure has. So as it rotates around, when you get to see the full benefit of it, the chrome in the eyes, these things, I think this is a genuinely beautiful miniature, and it has some really strong elements to it. But unfortunately, the miniature painter didn't follow my basic spec. So although he was a little bit cheaper than the two most expensive painters that I've shown, he still really didn't follow my spec, unfortunately. So I think I've given some indication of what one looks for with regards to these professional miniature paint jobs. And if you have any interest in any of these figures or the folks that painted them, please get in contact with me. or just leave a comment or direct message me through YouTube or something as a way of getting these details from me. Because I'm more than happy to pass on all these artists' work. But they do come for a price, so they're not cheap. That's one of the things that I really like about these high-end miniature painters, is that you're getting something which is very, very unique in a collectible market. Anyway, Monty here in the Bay Area, displaying some very beautiful miniatures.